Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar today. We are covering the Workgrid demo, Simplifying Your Digital Workplace. We are really excited to show you what we have to offer. I am your moderator, Anna Bruning, and I'll just be kicking things off, handing it over to our speaker, and at the end, helping answer the Q&As. If you have any questions throughout, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and feel free to message me for any questions that you have. So I'm going to hand it over to Scott Markley, our presenter and head of sales.
Great, thanks, Anna. I really appreciate it. Appreciate everybody joining here this afternoon. One of the things we want to get started with, we don't have a whole lot of time, so we'll go through a brief PowerPoint with kind of the problem statement, our origin, the problems we solve, a real high level in the technology we're going to talk about today, and then the bulk of the conversation is going to be what you're all here for, which is an actual demo of the Workgrid platform. So let's go ahead and get started. And really, it starts around the complexity. If you think about where all of our organizations have come from, you have the legacy, large monolithic applications that were historically running the entire business. So, over the course of time and as the applications evolved, we started seeing more pointed solutions, right? So, a large application was broken down into finance, and it was broken down specifically into maybe an HR application or talent management application, right? And so as cloud and SaaS-based applications started to proliferate throughout the enterprise, we started to, we solved a lot of problems. They added and enhanced functionality, allowed our businesses to compete on the global scale and at the global market, but they've also created complexities. There's a certain aspect to these applications that at times have a tendency to overwhelm our employees. We're providing more places to go, more logins, more institutional knowledge, and really just a disjointed, disconnected user experience, especially when you think about it as to what we have in our consumer lives. I always equate it to, I have Google Home, I can ask it questions, it's giving me answers. Google in the morning prompts me on where I need to be, what meetings I have that day. If I'm going into the office, it's prompting me, you should leave at 7:15 instead of 7:20 today. There's an accident. If there's a big accident, it's going to try to reroute me around the problem spots if there's an accident or construction, so that I'm getting to my place of business and I'm on time, I'm on task, I know who I'm meeting with, and I have all that information being surfaced to me at just the right times. In the enterprise, in the business, a totally different story once I get to work. Now with Workgrid, that's kind of a bit of a saving grace here for us, but it's a challenge that still many businesses face as these legacy applications are broken into more pointed solutions, and these pointed solutions are requiring much more institutional knowledge to be able to navigate on a day-to-day basis. So this is it. This is kind of the problem that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how Workgrid and our intelligent workplace platform helps overcome these challenges. And for us, it started very specifically. There are really 10 problem statements that we identified inside of our own organization that we wanted to set out and solve. And if you look at the list here, there's a few that probably immediately jump out at you. There's I don't think anybody that we've spoken with or that we talked to about employee experience and digital transformation initiatives that don't recognize at least a handful of these. The missing important communications. I think it goes without saying that email is oversaturated. Every system we have, every communication that we have, every important announcement that comes down throughout the organization is landing inside of our email inbox. And if you're good about it, you're diligent, you can stay on top of it, you can curate it, and you can keep your sanity when it comes to the business emails that you really want to focus on. If you're even kind of one level above that, maybe you create some rules, right? You get the Concur or the Chrome River email, you have something you need to do, let's just send it over to the folder, and I'll get to that in a little bit, and that keeps my inbox clean, like kind of state of nirvana around email management. Well, what happens when you forget to go to that folder? You now have 250 notices for an expense report that was due 21 days ago. Now you'll end up on the the naughty list, right? You have to submit your report, justify and explain what happened. And it's just generally bad behavior, and it's not really anybody's fault. It's just there's no other way to surface that information to us throughout the course of the day. The other alternative would be logging into the system itself and checking every few hours, and that would only exacerbate the problems that we're setting out to solve. Here at Liberty Mutual, I'll talk about our origin here in just a minute. One of the big things that we set out to solve very, very early on, and honestly the first thing, were delayed approvals. So, we had really identified a really bad habit around manager behavior when it came to facility access, software approvals, and expense approvals, right? So costing us money, costing us, kind of delays in our employees getting access to the tools and systems and even the buildings that they needed to do their job. And we rolled this kind of digital assistant toolbar out to 5,000 employees, and really it transformed the way that they're able to do business. Now you come back from vacation, instead of having an inbox full of approvals that you need to work through, you're able to get to them on the train or in the elevator or Sunday night on the couch before you even come into the office. And you're not, going through multiple systems, logging in all over the place, 17 clicks deep just to click on one button. In most cases, when we're approving transactions or, kind of navigating these systems, it's not all the content inside these systems, right? We're looking for that button that we go, okay, click, done, on to the next task. So we realized that what we were doing is we were making things more difficult for our employees, ultimately frustrating them in the process, and just generally creating a lot of really bad behavior around and because of this sprawl of applications inside of the business. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how Workgrid solves some of that. Before I get into that, we're Workgrid Software. We're a wholly owned subsidiary of Liberty Mutual. We were born back in 2013 as part of a broader employee experience initiative, and really it was kind of a very forward-thinking group that recognized that our customer experience had a direct correlation to our employee experience, and if we could solve some of the challenges that we had around employee experience, we could dramatically improve, our overall customer satisfaction. And so they had set out to kind of improve a few specific areas, mostly the ones that we just gone over in the previous slide, and kind of handle those as we could. As we became more recognized for some of the stuff that we were doing around digital transformation, our internet teams, the HR teams, and the associated industry awards and events, and kind of the industry analysts started recognizing us. A handful of folks there at the shows, other businesses, other enterprises, were asking us for advice. Do you have 30 minutes? Do you have an hour? Can we sit down? Can we come to your office and do a knowledge share? It was really about that time that we realized that we had solved the problem not just for us, but a broader problem that really every enterprise was going through at the time, which transitioned us into really rolling this out as a standalone business in 2017 as Workgrid Software. So what a lot of people don't know about Workgrid is we're built for the enterprise by an enterprise. So we have all the enterprise standards around information assurance, information security, a large staff of IT architects and software developers, and these folks, these individuals, these processes are time tested and true. We've spent decades building customer-facing software for millions of policyholders, right? And we bring those same standards to us here at Workgrid around everything that we do and everything that we develop in-house, and everything that we're delivering to our customers now. So, what is Workgrid? It's funny. I was working on this slide the other day, and I've seen it, I've talked to it, but I really wanted to kind of understand what is a digital experience layer. So I Googled digital experience layer, and up pops API experience layers, and okay, it's the user experience, kind of the presentation layer of a bunch of underlying APIs. All right, well that makes sense. We leverage these source systems underlying APIs to surface the intent coming from them. And I started thinking about, well, what are some other digital experience layers? And I think the first one, I'm just kind of old enough to really remember it. But when I first had a PC as a kid, knowing and understanding what commands to put into DOS, right? So you could run an application or I don't know, see the directory. And then not too long after I just figured that out, Windows was released. And now Windows was this digital experience layer. I just double-click the application that I want in this nice user interface, and my application opens and it runs. So not a new concept by any means, but I definitely think it's a unique take that we have, kind of spanning and sprawling across all of these enterprise applications, and really trying to surface the moments that matter for the individual users to enhance and improve their overall experience. These are all interconnected in some way, and in some further research, there were really kind of 3 or 4 areas that really made a solid presentation layer, and I started reading through those, and I'm thinking about it, I'm like, this is kind of exactly what we do. One, interoperability with disparate systems. So, all of these applications were purchased in silos. These applications that are in our enterprise today were not intended to speak with one another. So how can we make it, that we can take an intent or a request or a query and cross-check a few different systems to have that outcome that we want? Well, this experience layer. How do we leverage data across different systems? And in this case, it's leveraging the data that we have about our employees. If you think about it, our facility system knows who has access to which building. Our HR system knows a whole heck of a lot about us as individuals. Our IT systems, whether it be Active Directory or some sort of IT service management software, knows what devices we have, what groups we belong to. How do we take that data from all these different systems and tie it together in a way that is now more meaningful to the user? And we'll get into some examples of that in a minute. And an experience layer should be open and extensible, right? Our goal is to be Switzerland. We want to play nice with whatever applications you have in your organization, and we do not intend on being a source system, right? We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We want to provide that layer that the employees can interact with, that is modern, is mobile, it lives and exists where they are day in and day out, but at the same time can be built onto. It can be extended, and as technology changes, so can it. So those are a few examples of kind of what makes a good experience layer. I'm sure there's a few more, but I know we want to get to the demo here today. So let's talk about a few examples of the Workgrid experience layer, right? So here again, we have all of our source systems. We have this new modern technology, whether it's on our wrist or in our hand or wherever we might be. And the traditional path for all of this is to land in our inbox. What Workgrid does, it allows us to take the data we know about the user, so who they are, where they are, what permissions they have. Are they a manager? Are they not a manager? Are they a frontline employee? Do they have a computer? Do they not have a computer? And make sure that these notices, these alerts, these actions show up in the right place, right? It's personalized, it's contextual, and it's on my preferences. So if there's certain things that I as a user do not want to see or don't care about, I can check the box and I no longer see those. So it provides a contextual filter that allows the user to just have a little bit of a better overall experience in the day-to-day action. It really keeps them on task and focused on what you're paying those employees to do. Now, if we turn it around from the employee's perspective, how can we take advantage of this experience layer? If you were to think about it right now, tomorrow, if you wanted to take tomorrow and Friday off, we have a long holiday weekend here in the States ahead of us, you want to clear your calendar. How many different places would you have to go to clear your calendar? I know I'd have to, log into my time management system. I'd probably want to let my team know so they're not wondering where I am. I'd want to make sure I updated my calendar, so if anybody contacted me, they would at least know or get a warm email saying if you're having a question, please contact somebody else. So there's at least 3 or 4 systems right there, and probably if you were to think for your organization, there's maybe a few more. Reassigning approvals. Who in the event that I'm not here, who should this request go to? And that's where the experience layer can come in. You can take one clear intent and have it go down multiple paths and communicate across the enterprise systems. So before I get into the demo, I do want to break it down into kind of a couple of different buckets of who we are and what we do. The first one are our smart notifications. So the things that I need to know. So who am I? What do I need to know? The other is the to-dos. So your to-knows and your to-dos are your smart notifications. To-dos are typically asynchronous, bidirectional, meaning the system sending me a notification, I have the ability to act upon that notification. The underlying source system receives my action, and if there's a counteraction, so maybe another notice to me, a notice to a manager, that is also then occurring. So your to-dos and your to-knows are your smart notifications. We'll go through those. Micro apps, small pieces of underlying applications brought together and either tied together in the example I just had, which was your clear the calendar intent, or it could be something as simple as, I just want to pull a small piece of information from this system. You know, maybe there's a payroll piece or time off, something along those lines, right? I want to surface this piece of information because employees are always looking for this, and in order for them to get it, it's just too far away, too many clicks, it's a hassle. And then the last one is our workplace chatbot. So leveraging our knowledge around NLP and AI, being able to take the underlying technologies by Amazon and tying them in together to a completely codeless chatbot technology that can be deployed tomorrow with very little effort. And I'll talk a little bit about that, about how I set this up today and what the results are. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into a demo. So just bear with me 1 second as I get this fired up. All right, so I run lots of demos every week. I usually like to point out that Navid Technology is any intranet page. This is not a real company, it's not a real page. It just happens to be a URL. What we're focusing on today is our navigational toolbar on the left-hand side. This is the Workgrid product on the left side of your screen here. This also has a mobile factor, so you can download the Workgrid app, and your connections and integrations to these underlying source systems will be presented in a mobile facet as well, which really allows a number of different things. One, you kind of connect to it anywhere, anytime, as long as you have access to your device. It does also give you the ability to reach your frontline workers or maybe even deskless workers that don't have a PC or a device in front of them at all times, but you still want to communicate with them. There's still important notices, there's still important things that they need access to, and so it allows you to meet them where they are. I usually like to demo it backwards. And it's really because it's about the employee experience. Why, as an employee, do I want to be here? Why do I care about this? And for me, it all starts with, not for me in general, I say for a lot of people, it starts with your payslip, right? If you can make it easy to absorb this information, get access to it, great. Every few weeks, you're going to have somebody that's landing on your internet page that's going to be more likely to engage with the content that's on that page because they want to be there. So now I have access to this information. And you don't see it here, it was the click here. If I need access to the underlying source system, I can jump into it. So we're not looking to recreate these source systems in just another way. We're trying to take the meaningful things, the high volume things that employees need or want, and bring them up to the surface, just making it easier. So that's your payslip, my devices, right? So through our ITSM tools, we know what devices a user has access to, what applications a user has access to. A great example of this was I noticed the other day that I had 5 laptops assigned to me. Well, there's a red flag. I'm sure it's a red flag for somebody else inside the organization. And I know the reason why I have 5 laptops assigned to me. But now, I'm aware of the situation before somebody else becomes aware of the situation and is starting to wonder, well, what's Scott doing with 5 laptops? So I can take care of that problem. My profile. So if you can make it easy for users to update their address or change their name or update their contact information, they're going to do it. Right? It's right there. It's where they are. I can tell you if I had to log into, I wouldn't even know which system 1 to log into to change this information. And 2, I probably wouldn't go through that effort or exercise unless it was impacting my payslip or maybe my healthcare benefits. But now, if it's here, I can go ahead and I can easily click on it and access that information. People search, we all know that oftentimes people aren't looking for information, they're looking for people that have the information. So being able to type in, some extra letters here, a quick name and be able to get access to, an individual. My time off. So again, we know how important taking breaks from work is. It's a big initiative here internally. I can see my team's time off, right? It surfaces right in the time off planner. I can see my own time off if I had any. I can also schedule time off, right? So how neat is this? Being able to go in, click on the type of vacation I want, select the days that I want. So let's just say I'll take the 30th off and date 30th. Quick notes. On fishing. Now I can block off my Outlook calendar, set up my out of office. click submit, right? So this is going to trigger a series of events that behind the scenes, it's all taken care of. It goes in my HR system. My manager gets the request for my approval. That blocks off the dates on my calendar, lets my team know, and now I'm able to just focus on what I want to focus on. So now, jumping ahead here, why do you as communicators or you as IT folks or as HR professionals think it'd be good for an employee to be here? What is it that we're trying to communicate with these employees? So being able to facilitate a smooth onboarding process, right? Welcome to Liberty. Today's my first day. Week 1, what do I need to do? Here are my tasks, right? So you can literally build in these workflows, whether it's through one system or maybe your employee onboarding requires somebody to get badge access, parking assignments, all those things. You think about what it takes to onboard a new employee. Order a laptop, introduce your new hire, and now we can trigger these events at the right time, right? So they're surfaced in a contextual way, they're surfaced in a timely way, and unlike email, these notifications curate themselves. So when it's no longer relevant, let's say this trip to Plano is passed, and I don't need access, it's going to disappear. Things like spam emails, phishing attacks. How many times have you received an email warning you about a phishing attack that has a link or a document? You're going, is this a phishing attack that they're trying to tell me about? Or should I be wary of this? It's almost like an IQ test in some ways. And so if you're like me, you just delete it and you're all right, well, phishing attack, great, don't want to deal with that. But now if you can take it out of the primary vector that you expect that attack to occur in, you can surface it in a trusted area, you're going to be more likely to have employees engage it. They're going to feel it's okay to click on this link. That it's going to allow me to go a few levels deeper and work through the content that you're putting out there for them. If you're a sales professional like myself, being able to set up the proper KPIs and alerts that are we on target for our goal this month? Have we surfaced the right number of leads that we need in order to close the amount of business that we need to close? So being able to take, again, pieces of information and bring them to where the user is incredibly useful. And then there's other systems, your ServiceNows or BMCs, your Concurs. There's all sorts of alerts and triggers that those systems have available through their APIs that we can tie into and bring to those employees that need access to it. So that's your to-knows. Your to-dos, on the other hand, are go a little bit deeper, right? So these are the asynchronous items in the category. So with the task as far as this task due, I can see it. If I need to go into Lean Kit, I can do that. If not, I can just update it, right? That goes away. On to the next one. My expense approval, right? So we go to a trade show. I have 5 employees that are sending and submitting expense reports for travel, and now I can easily go through. I can see, okay, everything looks normal. Expect a $15.99 meal. That seems fine. Click approve. Again, if I need to get into the source system because something doesn't look right, I still have access to it. But if I don't need it, then I can just click approve and move on to my next task. So just a few examples of what you might be able to see here. The last one is an onboarding example. So 2 weeks out, here are a series of things that you should think about. It's almost time. That list changes a little bit. 3 days until your new hire, and you have those welcome emails. And you kind of go through your checklist, right? So these are all triggers that can occur based off of time, based off an event, and can span across multiple source systems. I know I'm running up against time, so I want to make sure I leave plenty of time for questions. The last one here is your chatbot. So there's a couple of different ways that the chatbot can be leveraged. I'll talk about a few of them. One is just a totally codeless way that you can input questions. So Workgrid's built out what we call Knowledge Hub that's going to kind of have buckets of questions, categories, so facilities, IT, finance, HR, or talent, and then inside, you have your most commonly asked questions, right? If you're part of an enterprise, you know what your top 20, top 30, top 50 questions are, and the answers to those questions. So being able to go in and type out those questions and answers, test those answers, make sure you're getting good results. So let's talk about like healthcare. How do let's see if I can do this right. Find out about vision coverage. The chatbot's going, it's thinking. And it gets smarter over time. We have analytics around everything that you've seen here today. There's analytics on, so you can see, is it returning good results? Are they low confidence? Maybe there's some ambiguity in the question or in the answer. So it might return multiple results and ask the user, I found 3 things. Is one of these what you're looking for? So you do just a few more examples. So I think you kind of get the idea. You can link out, you can provide the information and context. You also have the ability to connect to other systems. So one of the use cases that a customer of ours has, excuse me, is unlock your phone. So you say unlock phone to the chatbot. It knows who you are, what devices you have. It doesn't take you through the IQ test of your employee number, what building are you in, what device is it, what year was it issued. It just knows. It knows all of that because we have that in our underlying source systems. And then through the mobile device management wrappers that we have, it can go ahead and request that phone to be unlocked. Now, again, no human interaction, no waiting on hold, and you can take high dollar support tickets, high dollar cost for support tickets, and reduce that down to fractions because again, you're now eliminating time on 2 ends of the phone, your caller as well as your help desk individual. So we'll leave you with this quick joke. And Anna, I'm going to let you come back on the line here in a second. Let's see if we have any questions.
Okay, so thank you very much, Scott. I think we have time for one question. So how long does it usually take to implement this?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's a lot of what we went through today are out of the box features. So within a week or two, spend a little bit of time with your team to kind of establish where we want things to live, set up some of the security around it, but being able to publish notifications, publish surveys, and have the chat bot, that's all very quick, easy to stand up and test. And then shortly thereafter, you have our custom connectors that can be integrated with. So we do see kind of a rolling implementation where we find, kind of a minimum valuable product, across the kind of a standard across the group that's involved, and then we iterate on that. And I think our implementations kind of go on for a little while until our customers derive all the value that they want out of it. So it's totally extensible from that standpoint.
Okay, great. I'm going to ask one more question. There's a question on what does the back end look like for publishing the to-knows?
Yeah, so a really simple, straightforward wizard that you can kind of walk through for publishing those to-knows. The to-knows can either be set up to come from those source systems, or your communicators can go through the Workgrid console and kind of step right through it as to who do we want to target from an audience perspective. What's our message? And you have 2 or 3 different fields or layers that you can have kind of slide out from the left side of your screen.
Great, thank you very much. We are right at 1:30, so thank you all for joining. We will be sending you a recording of this and following up with any questions that you have. Have a great day.
Great, thank you.